Every single player will have to retire one day. Fact.
The RPA Player Development Programme is here to support you with your personal and professional development away from the rugby pitch.
We will help you to fulfil your off-field potential and lead a balanced lifestyle,
as well as giving you the skills you need to make a successful transition into life after rugby.
Most of you probably think you don't need any help yet.
But 39 players retired last season, 26 of those through career-ending injuries.
This means that statistically 2 people in the room will be forced to retire before the season ends.
And will never be able to play professional rugby again.
That is why it's important to be prepared for when the end comes.
You might be lucky enough to retire on your own terms at the end of an outstanding career.
Or your career may end when you least expect it.
The RPA Player Development Programme gives you the chance to put plans in place and prepare for your life after rugby.
It was August 24th, 2012, playing in Musgrave Park against Munster. Second half, I went in for a rugby tackle and got my head in the wrong position and was knocked unconscious temporarily and then woke up in a lot of pain and subsequently was found to have fractured my C1 vertebrae. So I spent a week in hospital, Cork University Hospital, was very well looked after. Was in a halo brace for 3 months. At this point, it entered in my mind that I may never play rugby again.
The low points always came with injury, and different people will have different things that get to them. I suppose you could have things going on outside rugby that affects it, but for me, unfortunately, it was injury, and I just felt every day I had to turn up and watch everybody else doing what I wanted to do, while I was in the gym, just trying to get back to that.
When you have a family, it definitely makes you realise that rugby is not forever. It takes one injury and you can't play anymore. So it is important to have that backup, I suppose, when you retire. And if you get a long career and you can still manage to continue that career afterwards in something different, then it's so important.
I can remember as an academy kid being sat there told about it, and at the time it's like, well, I'm indestructible. What do I need to worry about that? Or I haven't even achieved really becoming a rugby player at that stage. Why am I worrying about what I'm going to do afterwards? So I didn't pay it a great amount of attention, and I also thought it was going to be a distraction. It was actually going to detract from trying to become successful and forge my career.
When was it, 6-7 years ago now, when I started in the academy, where it was brilliant. I just signed my first professional contract, loving life, didn't think anything would happen to me, and rugby was everything, but in reality it's not. And like the stats don't lie, that your career can end whenever. It can happen on the pitch, it can happen off field, whenever, and you need to be prepared for that.
I spent a lot of time on games consoles and doing very little, just forgetting about rugby, but not actually being productive with that time off in terms of my future aspirations. And a lot of players, to be honest, did do a lot of good work around me and looked into careers, and I was just quite lazy about it.
No one wants to do it, and you always find an excuse for doing something else, whether it's going out with your mates or spending time at home, or no one wants to do work or do any work experience. But I sort of towards the end of my career, the last sort of 4 or 5 years, I did a fair number of work experience schemes in the city, and worked out really that wasn't for me. And at least I knew that at that point, rather than coming out of a rugby career and going straight into the city blind. It allowed me to realise options that I wanted to take up and options that I put to one side. But as I said, no one wants to do it because everybody wants to think about playing rugby and just playing on the pitch. But unfortunately, you have to give life after rugby some thought.
It's taken 2 years for me almost to nail down a career that I'm happy with, which in different circumstances would not have been acceptable, and I wouldn't recommend it to anyone.
I definitely started studying earlier. I would have got it out of the way as quickly as possible. If you're 18, 19, you've just left school, get studying, speak to the RPA, speak to a university, get that study and get that degree in your back pocket out of the way, and then you can look to further yourself after that.
The thing I'm most fearful about retirement is probably losing a sense of direction and purpose. I'm very driven with my rugby, and I just want to make sure that there's something for me once I retire from rugby that gives me the same drive.
The RPA allow you to not be fearful of it. If you use them and utilise them the way they're meant to be utilised, then you don't have to have that fear. And it's important that players realise that before it is too late, and you have to retire. Because not all boys have 15, 20-year career. Some boys will have a 2-year career, have a horrendous injury, and they're left with nothing. So it's important that the RPA, whether you're a young or an older player, you do use them wisely and you use the information they have.
I think with the beauty of rugby is you are exposed to so many different sort of areas if you choose to get out there and get involved. And I was always at sort of testimonial dinners, supporting other players, but interacting with the guys on my table. What does your job entail? What is good about it? What is bad about it?
It's tough, absolutely. You come from comparing yourself to mates that you've been at school with, and you're earning a lot more than them, and you're having a very good lifestyle, and you almost take it for granted sometimes. And then moving into a different career where you're at the bottom of the ladder again, and you have to start working your way up. And so you have to adjust your lifestyle. You have to tell the missus to stop spending so much money and and things like that.
The plans that I've put in place for life after rugby have come about through interaction with my PDM. I sat down and discussed with them, the holes in my CV according to the job that I eventually want to get. And over the last 4 years, I've set about doing work experience and inskilling myself so as to plug those gaps and hopefully give myself the best chance of a job post-rugby.
The opportunities that it brings about, it's incredible. Everybody wants to talk to you when you're a rugby player, and a lot of doors open. And trust me, when you stop playing rugby, your mum doesn't even want to know your name. It's a strange transition, but use the opportunities when you can. When you're a rugby player, as I say, a lot of doors get open and you'll get introduced to a lot of people, so make the most of it.
Major things it's done, it's helped me gain a degree. I've done the leadership and management degree from Northumbria. I found that fantastic. It's helped provide balance away from rugby, not constantly thinking about rugby, being able to put my effort into something else. And then, as mentioned before, it's helped me think about other roles and what they entail, and it's actually helped me understand what transferable skills rugby players have to cross over into business. A lot of the time the guys just think we run around on the pitch and throw a ball about, and it's not that transferable to business, but when you actually pick it apart, there's lots of things that's attractive to other organisations.
Enjoy the ride. Rugby's a great job. It's a fantastic environment to be in. You'll meet some wonderful people that will remain friends for life. It can stop at any point, we know that, so when you're in there, give it 100%, play with a smile on your face, but always make sure you've got half an eye on the future.
Talk to your PDM.
Make a plan.
Don't be afraid to ask.
If you don't tell us, we don't know.
Engage in the Player Development Programme.
Make the most of the opportunities.
Seminars.
Career days.
Networking events.
Work experience.
Courses.
Be proactive.
Network, meet people, build relationships.
Enhance your skills.
The Player Development Programme is there to help you. Make the most of it.